So anyway, I'd like to start out with a little joke, if you're open for it. So there are two brothers who had a terrible reputation. I mean, they were thieves, they were gamblers, they were carousers, they were cheats, anything you could imagine. That was what they were up to for years and years. So finally, one brother died. So the other brother came to the minister and he said, I'll tell you what, I will give you $5,000 if you will talk about my brother and tell everybody he was a saint. The minister said, make that $7,500 in cash and I'll do it. Smart minister. So anyway, the day of the eulogy came and the minister got up and he said, you know, I'm going to talk about John for a while. He was a carouser, he was a gambler, he was a thief, he did nothing but cause problems. However, next to his brother, he was a saint. That's a good one. Well, we have two topics today, so I figured if we're out about four, everybody, oh my gosh. So this month we are studying a fabulous book. This is Edwene Gaines. How many of you heard Edwene? Oh, good. You know,
she has spoken in this church.
Oh, LD, okay. You know, I talked to her about a month ago, and she said she would come back. So wouldn't that be wonderful to have her? Anyway, the 4 spiritual laws of prosperity. I'm not here to sell you books, but I'll tell you what, this is life transformative. So if you're interested, order it on Amazon, or you can get it at Half Price Bookstore. But as we're going through this month, it's really helpful if you have the book also. So anyway, let's start. This month we are talking about money, well, let me read you. I want to read you what Edwene talks about. We have different definitions for prosperity. This is Edwene's definition of prosperity. She says, we have a vitally alive physical body to provide a comfortable worldly home for the spiritual beings that we are. Relationships that are satisfying, nurturing, honest, and work all the time. And work that we love so much that it's not even work at all. And all the money we can spend. Isn't that lovely? And the special last part, all the money we can spend. That's what we're going to talk about today. So the first part of the talk, of her book, is Mastering Money. I love to watch college football, and I feel obligated to watch college football. And I'll tell you why. When I got home last night, I was watching the Ohio State Penn game, but I feel obligated because these young men that get out there, college level, have been practicing since they were 3 years old, most of them, to get out on that field and play. Practice is what they've done to be the best they can be. Arthur Rubinstein, the great maestro, finished a concert, and a young boy came up to him, and he said, Maestro, tell me, how do you get to be this good? And the maestro said, practice, practice, practice. So what do we do with our thoughts? We have different parts of our brain that go this way and that way. And it brings me to the story that we all know, but it's worth repeating. There's the old Indian chief, and his grandson comes to him and says, Grandfather, because the young grandson had been in trouble, he said, I have 2 wolves living within me. He said, one is full of hatred, one is full of jealousy, one is full of violence, and the other is full of peace and grace and all the good things in life. He said, who am I? Which one? And the old chief said, whichever one you think on, whichever one you practice, whichever one you feed. So for us, I don't know about you, but I was not raised with the consciousness of all the money in the world. Was anybody? In fact, we used to hide in the closet to avoid the bill collectors, and that's the truth. We had many, many problems with my brother. He had 18 major surgeries and all kinds of things. So money was always tight. So neurons develop in our brain, neural pathways, and it's so easy to walk down that pathway and say, there's not enough, there's never been enough. How can I pay my bills? Where will my next check come from? What if this happens? What if that happens? So we've taken the road and we have fed the wrong wolf, so to speak. So what if this is the month, we've got a full month of challenges ahead of us. What if this is the month that we start? And it takes practice, practice, practice to change those thought patterns. What if we start, I am abundant. I am a child of God. It's the Father's good pleasure to give me the kingdom. The Lord is my shepherd. I shall not want. All things work together for my good. And write them out. You know, Edwene says, write 21 affirmations and say them 3 times a day. And I'm going to go beyond that. Write your affirmations. And I know some of us think, I know all of this. Well, let's renew it this month. This is a month of September, a month of new growth, a month of the fall. It's a new time. Let's be new. If you've got this down, let's get it down further. If you haven't got it down, this is the time now to open up to abundance, because it is an abundant universe. There are no lack of trees. How many blades of grass? How many grains of sand? This is an abundant universe. It does not know about lack and limitation. We are the only ones that know about lack and limitation, and it's from lack and limitation thinking. And it's so easy to go down that path. What if this is the month we stop ourselves? We put things up on our mirror. I am prosperous. I am God's beloved child. All things are working together for my good. Put it all over the house if you have to, on your windshield or on your visor. Remind yourself over and over and over again, I am abundant. I am meant to live a good life. I am here to enjoy life, because first of all, joy is the infallible evidence of the presence of God. All the great mystics say that. The infallible evidence of the presence of God. How can we be joyful if we're worried about paying a bill? How can we be joyful if we're thinking, what if my rent isn't paid? What if? So this is the month. Really renew our thoughts about money. Money is plentiful, and if we're not tapping into that, we get the opportunity. This is a philosophy that says change your thinking, change your life. We have the opportunity now to go down a different path of thinking. The ancient Talmud said, we don't see things as they are. We see things we don't see things as they are. We see things as we are. How do we see money? How do we see our bank account? How do we see our being able to be distributors of money? It's not just for us to keep. It is to do good to others. Money, when we clap our hands like this with money, nothing can get in. But this month we're going to open up. We're going to start changing our thinking. And even if your thinking is really abundant, make it more abundant. There's no limit to God's good. It is the Father's good pleasure to give us the kingdom. Charles Fillmore, the co-founder of Unity, said, the inexhaustible resource of spirit is equal to every demand. There is no reality in lack. Abundance is here and now manifest. So I'm going to challenge you at the end of this to come back. I speak on the 21st, which is really going to be 28 days when you count all of them. And I want to hear what has gone on in your life, how your thoughts have changed. And we're going to talk about tithing. Now, everybody doesn't leave. I told a friend of mine I'm going to talk about tithing. He said, they all may walk out. And I said, no, I don't think that they will. So now we're going to talk, if we change our thinking about money, which Edwene did. Edwene starts every one of her talks, and this is what she says. I am a woman of power. Every talk she's ever given. So let's say that together, that I am a person of power. And say it from the gut. I am a person of power. Let's say it again. I am a person of power. And that is the truth. The power doesn't come from out here. The power comes from within here. And if we believe unity and we believe this faith and metaphysics, we know that within us is the Christ presence. Within us is all the abundance. And we say, how can that be when abundance? No, no, no. Abundance starts here in the gut with our thinking. And every time we change our thought, we release a little bit more of that Christ presence within us. And all of a sudden, we see our lives change. Because the door, God is always knocking. That Christ presence is always knocking at our door, waiting for us. I'm here. Open up. The world is yours. It is your oyster. It is my good pleasure to be here, to give you the kingdom. So as we open up to that space within us that is perfect health, perfect abundance, perfect knowledge and wisdom and clarity, and as we open up, and it's the power of our thinking, because our subjective mind, even whether we know it or not, runs our life. And our thoughts are in that subjective mind, and what are they going to tell us? You're poor, you're not worthy. We are God's original blessing to life. How could he want us poor? How can we glorify God if we're afraid we're going to be out in the street in the morning? We can't pay our bills. That's not what we're here for. We are here to shine our light ever so bright. Jesus said in Matthew, do not let your light go under a barrel. Let that light shine and shine and shine. That's what we're here for, to represent the power and the presence and the love of God. You know, if we looked at the Old Testament, they were all millionaires. Moses was a millionaire. Isaiah was a millionaire. Jacob was. Solomon was. We could go through all of them. Nobody was poor. We never read about Jesus with money, but we know that he was perfectly clothed, a seamless garment. Try to make a seamless garment. We know that he was perfectly fed and perfectly housed because he was open. That spirit within him provided everything he needed. So let's be open. Let's remember who we are. We are not here to suffer and strive, as some religions say. We are not sinners. We are God's gift to life. And this is one of the hardest times in life, in many, many years, to be here now. We have chosen to be here at this time and this place with all that's going on, and it's all that's going to come for us, right? We know there's going to be a lot coming. We are here to anchor that. And as Maslow has a hierarchy, and that bottom line is survival. And if we're at that survival level, how can I pay my rent? How can we be that presence for God? How can we can be that light above and way beyond survival, to be that light, to anchor that light in the United States, the world certainly, but the United States as it needs it. If we weren't to be here now, many people, as you know, have left the planet, right? But we are here and here now to manifest the glory of God. And we cannot do that if we're poor and striving and barely know where we're going to take our next meal. And this may not apply to you, then we can pray for those who are still struggling. But do not let money master you. You master money. And we do that what? Through our thinking. So let's move ahead now to tithing. Let me tell you a little bit about Edwene Gaines. She was a single mother. She had a young daughter. She had holes in her shoes. This is the true story. They were eating peanut butter and jelly sandwiches. She did not know how she was paying her bills. She was working 2 jobs, and she was struggling to the point of sheer exhaustion. And she finally got so upset She said, all right, God, I have had it. If this is the best you can do, let's just forget this whole thing. So she was raised a Baptist church, and later became a Unity minister. And so she said, I picked up the Bible, which I hadn't done in a long time. She said, I knew the Bible, but she said, I hadn't picked it up in a very long time. And you know, there's no mistakes in God, are there? We can say, oh, well, synchronicity. Synchronicity is God's way of remaining anonymous, right? And she opened the Bible to Malachi, and it is the only time in the Bible that God ever says, prove me. And here's what it says: bring ye all the tithes into the storage house, that there may be meat in my house, and prove me now herewith, saith the Lord of hosts, if I will not open the world of heaven and pour out a blessing, that there will not be enough room for you to even receive it. Prove me now. So these were her words. She said, all right, big fella, I'm going to try this, and I'm going to give you 3 months, and if it doesn't work, I'm going to throw the whole Bible out. So she started. When she started, she said, I swallowed the big frog, and I started to tithe 10%. And she said it was a huge deal. It was such a huge deal for me. She said at first nothing happened. And she said by the end of 3 months, she had doubled her income. By the end, and then new opportunities, because you know that's how God works, through new ideas, through new opportunities. And new ideas started to come to her. The end of the year, she made $100,000, and this was in the 60s. And that was a really lot of money, wasn't it? So anyway, my daughter and I had gone up to Ventura. We were living in Santa Monica at the time to hear Edwene speak. So I heard this whole thing, and at the end, I went up to her. We had a chance to visit. Everybody did. And I said, you know, I'm not even paying my bills. There's no way I can give 10%. She said, give it anyway. I mean, just flat. I mean, there was no, oh, honey, I'm so sorry. Let me help you. She said, give it anyway. So I started to tithe, and I was in ministerial school, and it was a tough time for me financially. So finally, I gave it about 20 days, and it was not working. And I said, all right, this just doesn't work. I had this is the honest to gosh truth, I had $15 in my checking account. And I thought, okay, if this is the way it is, I'm giving it all to you. You can have it. If I don't have food, if I don't have rent, I'm out in the street, and it's your fault. So I was very clear. I wrote the check, and it was a little box that had a slit in it. So I couldn't get my hand in if I wanted to get it back out. Don't think I didn't think of it. and I left, and I said, that's it. Either this works or it doesn't work, period. So I was walking, honestly, I was walking to my car, and a friend of mine, a fellow ministerial student, Jackie Holland, who's up in Idaho now, she was running after me. She said, wait. And so I turned, and she said, I'm finally able to repay you. And I said, for what? And she said, don't you remember you bought me my books for the first year of ministry? I didn't have the money. You bought them for me. And I had totally forgotten. I get the chills to this day, and she handed me a check, and when I looked at it, it was for $150. And that is the truth. You know, prove me now in this. And Edwene says, anytime we do not tithe, the universe is very interesting. It takes it anyway, the 10%. And those times that I have stopped tithing, the car breaks down, a new bill, the water, I mean, everything. And I just finally look up and say, I hear it, I hear you again for the 100th time. So I'm going to ask you this time. It is a big frog to swallow. And even if you feel that I cannot do it, I'm going to ask you for 21 days or 28 till we meet again. Give it a chance. Tithe. Just try it. Because if God is saying in Malachi, this power and this universal presence that knows nothing about lack or limitation, those are our old thought patterns. Try the 10%, not 5%, 10%. Just try it and see what happens. Her life changed. Years ago, I went down to her retreat center. At the time, she was living in Valley Head, Alabama. And everything that she said about her life was true. This fabulous retreat center that she had, her gorgeous home, everything about her life. And she owed it all to tithing. So the first thing this month we're going to do, and it's the most important, we can ask ourselves, we can write it down. Is money mastering me? And it often does. It's like a whip over us, not enough, blah, blah, blah. Or am I going to start a new pathway of thinking in my life that says, God is my source. All things are working. The Bible is full of thousands of promises. We have seen people, J.C. Penney, the man who started Kraft, Danny Thomas, you all heard of St. Jude's, right? St. Jude Children's Hospital. Danny Thomas was a down and out comedian, and he couldn't get any work, and the audience was booing him. He was having a terrible time, and he made a promise. He said, I will start tithing 10%. And he said, I'm going to give that, I'm starting a fund. And he said, I am going to build a hospital for children, and I'm dedicating it to St. Jude. And he started, and then all of a sudden he was tithing, and anything he made, 10%. His whole career blossomed. He had a TV series, he made movies. And lo and behold, he built the St. Jude's Children's Hospital, not like it is now. It was a small hospital, but he started it. And now it's one of the largest cancer centers for children in the world. So when we're saying, prove me now, J.C. Penney, who is stone broke, started to tithe, and look at what happened. It's just full of stories and promises. God keeps his promise. The universe is a place of divine order. Everything is in perfect order. And when our thoughts match that perfect order of God is my source, we look to our retirement fund. We look to our Social Security. We look to our paycheck. That is all temporary. That can be taken in a second, can't it? So instead of looking outside to, oh my gosh, my check is late this month and I can't pay the bills and I'm panicked, God is the source. Anything else on this human level can be taken like that. And we've seen it, haven't we? My own pension with Center for Spiritual Living went bankrupt totally about 3 years ago. All the money was gone. And yet, people had depended on that. But that wasn't my source. It wasn't our source. God is our source. So if we look beyond, so this or that, or someone owes me money, I'll look at God is the source. And if we really believe God is my source, and if we're willing to give, bring ye all tithes into my house, that I may have food to eat and food to share, everything changes. So instead of looking Social Security, whatever it is that your source, that can be taken away because that's a human level. We are spiritual beings. We are more than that. Reverend Michael Beckwith's beautiful song, I am more than this, and we are. So let's elevate our thinking this month. We're going to create new pathways of thinking, and the minute it starts, there's not enough, will I pay my bills, whatever it is, oh, it's too expensive. No, I don't think that way anymore. I am abundant. I am God's beloved child. It is the Father's good kingdom to give me the kingdom. All things are working together for my good. That is the truth. And the only time in the Bible it's ever said that one word, Prove me now in this. So I invite us all to open up. Try the 10%. And you're thinking, oh, I can't wait to get out of here. No. This isn't about me. It's not about the church. It's about each and every one of us. Be generous. Open up. Where Edwene talks about where you're spiritually fed, give. If you're spiritually fed here, give here. Where Edwene one time was really down and out. She had some wonderful stories. Her husband, who was Kelly and I met him up in Ventura. He was a very handsome guy. They lived in a small town, and she was so crazy about him. And she was walking down the aisles of a grocery store, and she happened to overhear from the other side of the grocery store someone saying, well, he's been cheating on her for years, and she has just closed her eyes to it. And she realized they were talking about her, and yet it never deterred her. Took her years. She forgave him. She never forgot who her source was. She never forgot that with God all things are possible. I can do this and I can do more. And she went on with her work of spreading the good news that anything in our life that we are lacking right now, we change first by changing our thought pattern. And then we take a chance. Take a chance on God. Has the sun ever not risen? Has the moon never come up at night? No. God is absolutely faithful. Faithful. So again, I encourage you, and I speak again on the 21st, and I would love for you to come back and tell me your stories. I would love to tell me what affirmations work best for you, and I want you to tell me where money came in. And with God, and then I'll finish up because it is almost 4 hours now. We look for definite things. God works out of the blue, and never forget that. Out of the blue, money comes. I have seen it. I have experienced it. When we think, oh, there's no way. I mean, who's going to give me money? A check comes. A refund comes. One other quick story. I was in a mastermind group, and I so wanted to have laser surgery on one of my eyes. It was $1,500, which I just didn't have at the time. And we masterminded, and I worked on my thinking. And at the very end of the class, I thought, no laser surgery here. And this is, again, the honest truth. I was going through my mail, and there was one thing, and I almost threw it out because it didn't have a postage stamp, and how things come. And I opened it up, and once again, it was an insurance refund for $1,500. Kelly knows. I went and had the laser on. So, out of the blue, expect a miracle. Expect the best. Expect good. But we, in return, must give back. It is a spiritual law. As we give, we receive. Thank you. Did you hear Aldi? Amen. He knows that law. So let's play this month. Make it a game. Boy, I am creating new pathways in my brain of abundance, of a prosperity, of the goodness that God is. And I'm going to experiment with something. For this, till I see you on the 21st, I am going to try to give 10%. No, I'm not going to try. I'm giving 10%, and see if it works. Prove me now, and I guarantee you, if not, I'll give your money back. Not really, no. But I guarantee you that money will start to come in ways you can't even imagine. We have a faithful God, and we have a law in this universe that says, as you give, you receive. So anyway, make it an adventure. Make this month a spiritual adventure. I've seen it work. We're talking about a woman here who had holes in her shoes and went on to be a millionaire. So give it a try. Change your thinking, change your life, and tithe. Tithe to your church because you're spiritually fed here. This is a wonderful place. So God bless us all. Let's take an adventure this month and have fun with it. Right?